So here's what we're going to do. We are going to put ourselves into a box, and then we're going to kind of get out of it in some other videos, okay? So what are we going to talk about today? Well, real simple. We're going to just talk about the major scale. Pretty straightforward. We're not going to really talk about much more than that, other than the major scales. Probably one of the more important of maybe 4 scales that you should, if not know, be looking to learn. That's just my opinion. Major scale, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic. Just my opinion. They all seem to come in handy one way or the other. So once you have an understanding of those scales, those scales and different keys, it helps you just see the fretboard a whole lot better, and there's more going on than you probably ever realized. So let's just take a look at the major scale. That's all we're going to do. We're going to take a look at in the key of D for this particular lesson. Really, any key would work, but for me, D works because we're going to be all over the place, especially in some other videos. So I think it'll just kind of be best to do it here. So let's just take a look at the major scale in D. That's all we're going to do in this video. What makes up the major scale? Well, no matter what key you're in, you need to know your intervals. So what are the intervals? Well, in short, it's your root, which is 1, your second, your major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, your sixth, your seventh, and then you're back to the octave, which is the 1. Sometimes you think of it as the 8 because you continue counting, but really it's just the octave, right? So those are that's the intervals you're working with. And I've been saying in past videos, know your intervals because you can play this position, or this box, which is what we're going to get ourselves into. Okay? You could pick that up and play it anywhere. It'll be in a different key. The intervals stay the same. Just for argument's sake, if I move it here, my intervals haven't changed. 1, 2, 3, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, sixth, seventh, back to the octave. Let's just stay in the key of D, though, just for argument's sake. Okay, so we're here. So now we know we've got our root, our second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, my sixth, my seventh, and we are back to the root. So when you hear people talking about, you're in a box, you're playing in a box, that's really what we're doing here. That continues. But before we continue, you have to understand, it's only 7 notes in the scale. And you can hear it as it ascends. In this particular case, you can descend, but we're going to ascend for this lesson. And it goes back to the octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Just for argument's sake, as far as the notes go, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. I think I got that right. And if I was wrong, someone will tell me anyway. It's how it usually works, but it's okay. Now, we know here's my root, my D, right? So that's where I start. I can continue this pattern. Right? It'll continue from there. But you run out of strings eventually. So if we were to move this, there's a D here. Well, I know there's a D here. Let's start just like we did here. Let's play all 6 strings here. And it was there. So you got your root, second, major third, perfect fourth. Oh, let's try that again. Root, second, third, major fourth, major. We're gonna just cut all this out, I think. D, your D note, which is your root, your second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, sixth, seventh, your root, and it continues. So if I just count out numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my root again. And you can continue, but ideally, just for terms of practicing and getting to hear things, always start and land on that root, just so you can kind of hear how it works. So I kind of shifted just so you can kind of hear where it would end there, okay? But you basically run out of strings. That's basically your major scale. You could pick this up and play it anywhere you want for the most part. When you're going between the third and the second string, things kind of shift a little bit, so it might not sound right when you think you're doing it the right way. But don't worry about playing all of them. Just play the 7 notes. Oop, if I knew them. Okay. So when I talk about the boxes, a box is basically a section of the fretboard where you're only living in for that particular scale or that pattern. And for this particular one, we're going to be ultimately between the 9th and the 12th fret here. Again, key of D. And what happens is we get so used to playing these boxes and these patterns, we get stuck in them. It's okay to learn. There's nothing wrong with learning it and being in them, but you've got to find a way to kind of just get out of them sometimes and not sound like you're just playing scales. You know, if you've got a backing track or you're playing with a band, may not sound great if you're kind of, you know, there's some music being played. So you've got to just start thinking about, well, how do you target certain notes? How do you kind of get out of just that staleness of just playing that? So different ways you can do that. There's different ways to start looking at the fretboard. I mean, don't get me wrong. We can hang in here. And it sounds more musical when you kind of start knowing your way around it. But it's knowing what notes to target. Just my opinion, knowing where the root is, knowing where that third is. So your root, your third, that fourth, and the fifth, those are key. The second, the sixth, and the seventh are kind of, I don't want to call them passing notes, but sometimes they're almost like accent notes depending on what it is you're trying to play, depending on the key as well, and even the whether it's major or minor. But just kind of know where those roots, know where your root is, know where the third is, know where that fourth is, and know where that fifth is. Like if that second sounds like it's incomplete, you want to go somewhere else. Come back to the root. There's your sixth right there. So you'll start to hear things. So keep in mind, again, we're in the key of D. You could play this in any key you like, but again, for the upcoming videos that we're doing, there's a reason I'm kind of breaking it down this way, okay? So again, root, second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, sixth, seventh, back to that root, okay? And we're just going to pick it up because I know there's a D here. There's got to be, there's other D, obviously D's everywhere. Here's a D, it's just an octave up. So you start to see these patterns are everywhere, okay? So memorize just the pattern, okay? So you're gonna go root, we skip a fret to the second, down a string to your major third, which in this particular case is the fourth string of the fourth fret, excuse me. Next fret, the fifth fret on the fourth string. We're gonna skip a fret to the next one. So you just kind of see, so memorize the patterns. The patterns are what are gonna help you out just to kind of get your fingers moving. Once you've got the patterns, you're comfortable with the patterns, you can start shifting them elsewhere. That's when we start worrying about the intervals and the notes in that particular key. Just like you saw in the beginning of this video, I was kind of all over the place, but I was still in the key of D playing just those 7 notes. That was it. So we'll get into some deeper stuff. And now that we've got ourselves in the box, let's kind of get out of it. So again, same thing. So key of D, we'll stay in this, we're going to stay kind of in this groove right here. But now we're going to see, how do we get out of that box? Now that we've kind of got ourselves into it, we're learning the major scale. How do we get out of that? Or other ways to get out of it? And this is kind of how I've learned things. So we'll take a look at it. Hopefully it helps you out. But we got about 2 more videos at least on this topic coming up in the near future. So subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you know when they come out, and we will continue tackling this particular subject. All right? See you soon.